alchemy. powers of alchemy.
All right, y'all, what's popping? What's going on? It's your man Frank coming to y'all live and direct with another edition of Views from the Man Cave. Welcome. Welcome to View from the Man Cave, a place for honest and informative dialogue and discourse about all things related to masculinity and manhood, responsibility and respect, provision and protection. So let's talk about it. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. All right, y'all, good evening. Happy Tuesday to you. Hope you had a good day. You know what I mean? Hope you are in a good space, in a good place right now. So it's your man, it's your homie, your brother Frank. We're just going to chop it up for a little bit. So there are a few things on my mind that I'm going to talk about, that I'm going to break down and just kind of, just drop some jewels on a little bit. And then I'm going to get into the topic of the show. But as always, I'm very thankful and fortunate, for all of the supporters of the channel, for all of the followers, all of the subscribers, people who enjoy the content, people who email me, all that good stuff. So I'm very thankful for y'all. If it wasn't for y'all, I wouldn't be able to do what I'm doing on the scale that I'm doing it on. So I just want to say, first and foremost, thank you to all the supporters of the channel. So there are a few things that have happened this week in the news, and I'm going to kind of touch on those, give my opinions and my thoughts and feedback on them. And then we're going to get into the topic tonight. We're going to talk about forgiving your father. But first and foremost, I want to talk about this brother right here. This brother right here. If you do not know who he is, this is Marvelous Marvin Hagler. He is one of the greatest fighters to ever walk the face of this earth. The brother passed away a couple of days ago. I'm not really sure how he passed or, what type of ailments he had. I know he recently had COVID. I know he took the vaccine. So I'm not a conspiracy theorist. So I'm not going to kind of go into that and kind of put his death on the vaccine. But he did have COVID and he did take the vaccine. But this brother passed away a few days ago. And I just want to pay homage to him. He is one of the greatest fighters to ever live. He in his heyday in the early to mid 80s, he dominated the the middleweight division. And he was in the same weight division as other legends like Sugar Ray Leonard, who's from right here in PG County, Maryland, Palmer Park. Thomas the Hitman Hearns from Detroit, Roberto Duran, Hands of Stone. So he fought during a golden age of boxing, especially in his division, in the middleweight division. And he dominated that division. He had a close loss to Sugar Ray Leonard that a lot of people thought that he won the fight. I think he won the fight. I thought he won the fight, even though I was a baby when it took place. But being the boxing fan that I am, and the student of the sweet science, that I am, I went back and watched a lot of those old fights to, pay homage to some of the GOATs. And Marvelous was an animal, man. He fought everybody. He fought people that no one wanted to fight. He was aggressive. He walked guys down. He was very entertaining. He was an animal, man. He personified his name. So I just wanted to pay homage to Marvelous Marvin Hagler. Rest in peace to him, and prayers go out to his wife and his family. So shout out to Marvelous, Marvin Hagler. So I put a post up today about a situation that I saw. I just wanted to talk about it. And, it got a lot of traction on Facebook today. I didn't really think it was going to be that popular. I didn't really think a lot of people were going to comment on it and share it and things like that. But it was, it was jumping, to say the least. So I think I posted it late last night, and then I woke up and it was, hundreds of comments, plenty of shares, all of that stuff. And so I was talking about the Grammys. So I'm going to talk about it. So I watched the Grammys, when it came on, and as usual, as I would hope, a lot of of my brothers and sisters did well, at the Grammys. So, Beyonce won, Blue Ivy even won, Nas won. Nas is, one of my favorite rappers of all time. And, he's one of the greatest rappers to ever live. He dropped one of the greatest albums of all time in Illmatic. If you know anything about rap, about the culture, about rapper Nas out from Queensbridge Projects in New York. one of the greatest rappers of all time. You know what I mean? Just one of the great lyricists. And, he has tons of classics, at least two, 5 mic classics in Illmatic and Stillmatic. And so, but as talented as Nas is and, has been, he had never won a Grammy. You know what I mean? And there are a lot of distinguished rappers, who put in work for the culture who had never won a Grammy. He was one of the, the more popular names on that list. And he actually won a Grammy for his last album called King's Disease. If you haven't heard it, check it out on all streaming platforms and all of that. So Nas won his first Grammy, which was dope. You know what I mean? I really enjoyed that. That brother, is long overdue. And we all know the Grammys are not really about, the best lyricists or the best music. A lot of times it's a popularity contest, what sold the most and things like that. But, but Nas finally won a Grammy. And so I'm happy for him. I just want to shout that brother out because it's long overdue. And during the Grammys, there was a performance, from Megan Thee Stallion and Cardi B. So we all know about their song WAP. If you don't know what it means, you can look it up. I'm not really going to go into the meaning of the name here on this channel. I kind of have a little bit, of different energy over here. But so they dropped this song, it was very catchy, very popular song. It was on, getting crazy spins, crazy airplay. And I think it won as well. I think, Megan won a few Grammys, I believe. And so she performed this song, she performed it with Cardi B at the Grammys. And me personally, I wasn't really feeling it. I mean, to be honest with you, I wasn't really feeling it at all. And I put a post up about it. So basically, if you didn't watch the Grammys, you saw, Cardi and Megan performing WAP. They were on the stage. It was made out to look like a bed. And they were basically just dry humping, through the whole song. It was soft porn. It was Red Shoe Diaries. It was Skinamax, all that. You know what I'm saying? And so I put a post up about it last night. Just talking about, how I didn't think it was a good look for the culture. And I still believe that. I stand on that. And a lot of people who saw the post, agree with what I said. A lot of people didn't. And that's all good. But at the end of the day, when I made the post, when I made that comment, it wasn't to really disrespect these two. They're very talented. They're very good at what they do. Obviously, they've sold a lot of records. They've made a lot of money. But I just feel like I want, some of these sisters to start adding a little bit more to the culture. Women are very versatile. Women are a kaleidoscope of colors. It's how I put it earlier. And so sometimes every once in a while, I just want to see a little bit more colors. We've all seen the sex colors. We've all seen the erotic, seductive side of the sisters in music. We've always seen that, especially in rap, these two aren't really the first to do it, and they won't be the last. We had Kim, we had Foxy, we had, Nikki, we got these two, you got Mulatto, you got a lot of ladies out here who are doing it like that. But I just want, just from the male side of things, I just want sisters to know that, you could switch it up every once in a while. I understand that a lot of times when you make moves like this, that's where you get your bread and butter from. That's where you get the majority of your money, the most of your spends and all of that, by being, by showcasing this type of energy right here. But, there's a short shelf life for that. And that's what I think a lot of us, don't really understand. You can't move like this forever. It's going to come a time when you're going to get old. You're going to be out of the game at like 35. Because, people aren't going to want to see, a 30, 35, 40-year-old woman moving like this. Even when Lil Kim does it right now, when they pay homage to Lil Kim, she still moves like this. And people are like, okay, you too old for that. Go sit down. So that was my only issue with it. And that's the point I was trying to make, was that I think these sisters I think they're very talented. And I think they can do a lot of different things to kind of add on to the culture. But right now we're kind of stuck in this move where in hip hop overall, we're stuck in this phase where it's about, how much sex you can have. And how much drugs you can sell and how many people you shot and how many, how many keys you moved and all that kind of stuff. And so I think, we got to get off that. We got to start vibrating at a high level. And don't get me wrong, there are other artists out there who are doing that. You have other artists, who are dropping some gems, dropping heavy gems. One sister from my home state of North Carolina, Rhapsody, is very dope, very lyrical. Shows not one cheek, none of that. She's dope. And so there are other women who are moving like that. And I just want to see a little bit more balance. That's all I was trying to say. I wasn't trying to disrespect them. I wasn't trying to, throw gas on a gender war and set it on fire. I was just trying to say, like these two right here are the face of female rap. And I feel like with that comes some responsibility. So just add on to it a little bit, be a little bit different. Every once in a while, switch it up. Everybody ain't popping it every day. Every song ain't got to be about twerking and all that. Switch it up. Talk about other things that, you've experienced in your life, because we've all experienced different things. I see you, Kay. What's going on? Sasha, I see you. So just switch it up. That's all I was trying to say. When you look at the most influential female rap artists of, throughout history, you look at artists like Queen Latifah. You look at artists like Lauryn Hill. So you can do it. So you don't have to sell yourself short and let the industry, kind of hold you out and say, look, this is what you got to do, to sell records, because that's not real. That's not real at all. You don't have to do that. So I'm not saying, the female body is a work of art, period. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not saying don't kind of flaunt it. Don't kind of, allude to a little bit of sex appeal and things like that. That's not what I'm saying. Every once in a while, I think that's cool. That's dope. But just kind of switch it up a little bit, man. Don't let these people look at you like a piece of meat and play you out like that and spit you out, because they're always looking for the next young shorty that's going to come through, body a little bit tighter, a little bit younger. Like right now, people ain't, people as great, as successful as Nicki Minaj is and was, people aren't even talking about her right now. She's already old. She's already old news. And that's where these two are going to be in a year or two if they move like this all the time. So that's all I was trying to say. So, no disrespect to them, but I just feel like these young ladies are way more talented than what they've put off. And it'll be dope to kind of see them in a different light, to kind of switch it up and do some different things. But at the end of the day, that's on us too. The onus is on us to promote other things. Because if we only buying stuff like that, if we only promoting stuff like that, then that's what these labels are going to keep pushing on these artists, and that's what these artists are going to keep doing. Because if we only buying the hood stuff, or we only buying the sex and the drugs and the killing and all of that, and we're not really promoting anything positive or buying anything positive, then that's what these labels are going to keep promoting and pushing out. So it's just something to think about. So I'm not going to be before y'all tonight. Long tonight. I know I'm gonna be respectful of your time, but I just wanted to talk about a subject that's near and dear to my heart, and it's about forgiving your father. And when I came up with this topic, this was before the situation with Kirk Franklin and his son, but it kind of happened right on time, and I'm gonna kind of speak on it, not to poke shots at anybody or disrespect anybody, but just to kind of add on to the conversation that I already plan to have with y'all about forgiving your father. So listen, we all know the value. We all know the value of having a father in the home. We already know that. I see you, Rob. Salute to you, Raining Woman. I see you. Thank you for coming through. So we all know about how valuable and how important it is for a father to be in the home. We've all seen the studies, we've all seen the reports, and if we haven't, we can just look around. If you look at the dysfunction in our communities, male or female, regardless of how we express it, a lot of it, if you peel the layers back, you go deep into it, a lot of it is rooted in the fact that a lot of men aren't taking care of their responsibilities as far as being a father. A lot of men aren't there. And so, we know the numbers, we know the stats. the majority of brothers who are locked down didn't grow up with a father in the home. You know what I mean? And when a father is in the home and he's functioning in a healthy relationship with the mom, you know, the child has a higher probability of being successful because they're getting a healthy dose of masculine and feminine balance. You know what I mean? And so that's paramount to the development of a child, specifically a son. You know what I mean? A father who's doing his job, who's playing his part, is going to teach his son discipline. He's going to teach his son respect. He's going to teach his son, you know, the value of a dollar. He's going to teach his son how to be a man. And so if he's not there, then the child, the son, is already at a disadvantage already. You know what I mean? And so a lot of times, because our fathers weren't there, we grow up with, you know, with a piece of ourselves not there. And so there are a lot of answers to a lot of questions that we have that can be best answered by a father. You know what I mean? And when your father's not there, there's a huge void. You know what I mean? Period. And so a lot of times these voids cause us to grow up into men and make a lot of mistakes. You know what I mean? And when we make these mistakes, we point the finger at our father a lot of the time. You know, we place blame on the father. He wasn't there. He didn't do anything for me. He didn't love me. He wasn't, you know, playing his role. And so I was in the street. So I joined the gang. So, you know, I started hustling. So, you know, I started robbing people, whatever you was doing. A lot of times, you know, we use our fathers not being there as a scapegoat for some of the, you know, mistakes that we make in life. And I just want to tell you, brothers who are going through that, who are experiencing that, who have a lot of pent up pain and frustration up in you. I just want to tell you that one of the easiest ways to get that up off you, one of the easiest ways to kind of move on with your life and become the man that you're supposed to be, is for you to forgive your father. And I'm not saying forget what he did. I'm not saying not hold him accountable for what he did, but forgive him. You know what I mean? Because he's human. He made some mistakes. And a lot of times, you know, he just didn't know any better. You know what I mean? When you look at a lot of the situations that brothers are in right now, a lot of brothers on YouTube right now talking about, you know, I didn't want the kid. She had the kid. She's, you know, a lot of brothers right now are not in their kids' lives. So our generation is no different from the generation that came before us. The same issues that men had, as far as, or some of the issues that we make up or claim to have now, our fathers had. And our fathers weren't necessarily ready to be dads either. They weren't. I know my dad wasn't. You know what I mean? One of the best things that helped me in my life was me forgiving my father. Period. I mean, you know, I grew up, I didn't have my father around. He wasn't there. My mom left him when I was like 2 or 3 years old. You know, he was physically abusive, verbally abusive, all of that. You know what I mean? All over, you know, throughout my life, he was never there. You know, never bought me anything, never took me anywhere. He never got me an edge up, nothing. Never bought me a burger, a slice, nothing. I'm 39 years old. He's still never done it. You know, still never, you know, called consistently to check on me and see how I'm doing. You know what I mean? And you know, and he was like that for me and my brother. You know what I mean? And we dealt with it in different ways. But at the end of the day, you know, we had a lot of picked up anger inside of us. We were mad. We walked around mad. We lived our life mad. We lived our lives like we didn't care about nothing. You know what I mean? Whatever happened out here. It didn't really matter because the man that was supposed to care about us more than anybody didn't. And so we used that as an excuse to run the street. We used that as an excuse to do some things that if we would have got caught, would have got us locked up. We used that as an excuse to do things that even to this day, I'm not going to talk about publicly. Because I don't even know how, you know, how long the statute of limitations is on some of that stuff. But we made a lot of mistakes. And if we were being honest and we peeled all those layers back, a lot of that stemmed from our father not being there. We used that as a cop out. We used that as an excuse to move the way we were moving, to do what we were doing, to treat women the way that we treated women. You know what I mean? And so one of the best things that I did was to forgive my father. And even though he did that, and even though my father he never lived more than like 30 minutes away from me at any point in my life until I signed up for the Army and went, to Fort Jackson and then started my military career. Up until that point, my father never lived farther than 30 minutes away from me, and he never pulled up on me. You know what I mean? He never really showed me love like that. And every time I saw him, I had to reach out to him. I had to call him. I had to go to his house, pull up on him. I would have my mom take me over there when I was a kid. You know what I mean? When I was in the military, when I would come home on leave, you know what I mean? From wherever I was from Fort Jackson, South Carolina, to Fort Sam Houston and San Antonio, Texas, to the 2nd Infantry Division in South Korea, to Walter Reed Army Medical Center in Washington, D.C. Regardless of where I was at, when I would come home on leave, I would always pull up on my father. I would get up with my mom, and we would hang out, and I would say, Mom, just kind of take me over there, you know what I mean, so I can see him and chop it up with him. And he would always give me the same excuse when I would go over there. You know what I mean? Like, well, this is a two-way street, and, you can call me too, or you could pull up on me too. And I'm like, yo, I did pull up on you. I'm right here. I'm in your house. You know what I mean? I pulled up to your house, and you never really did that for me. You know what I mean? Or my brother. And so a lot of the mistakes that I made was because I used him as an excuse. And a lot of us do that. A lot of us feel like it's okay for us to make, dysfunctional and disrespectful decisions because our father wasn't there, because the person who was supposed to care didn't care. So we just out here wilding out, like doing whatever we want to do. It's all good. You know what I mean? I don't really care. Let the chips fall where they may, because I'm not getting the love I'm supposed to be getting from my father. You know what I mean? I didn't get that advice. I didn't get that wisdom, that knowledge, that understanding. And at the end of the day, if you're being honest, and when you get to the point where you forgive your father, you'll realize that he probably didn't give you that knowledge, wisdom, and understanding that you were looking for because he didn't have it. Period. You have conversations with your father. If you get to a point where y'all actually talk, you know what I mean? You'll hear some strange things. You know what I mean? You'll hear some things that your mom didn't tell you. And that's no disrespect to your moms, but a lot of times, man, these dudes, our fathers just, they were playing around too. They were doing some of the same things that we were doing, having sex, playing with people's hearts, not being honest about what type of man they are, what type of man they want to be, what type of woman they want to line up with, or they want to line up with them. They were just out here pimping. They were moving around just the way a lot of us move around. And, just so happened that your mom got pregnant. You know what I mean? He didn't know what to do. He didn't really want your mom. So a lot of times he just associated you with your mom. So if I don't want nothing to do with your mom, I don't want nothing to do with you, because you are part of your mom. You are your mom. You know what I'm saying? And it's messed up. And I'm not making excuses for these cats. But if you have a conversation with them, that's how a lot of them think. That's what a lot of them will tell you. And I'm telling you to forgive them. I'm not telling you to forget what they did. I'm not telling you to give them a pass. I'm telling you to forgive them, because it's gonna help you to begin to drop all of the burdens that you're carrying in your life. You know what I mean? A lot of the reasons why you can't function in a relationship. You know what I mean? You got a lot of pent up anger, frustration in you. You know what I mean? A lot of it is you're just expressing it in other areas of your life, but it's really your father. You know what I mean? And look, I saw the Kirk Franklin situation like everybody else. You know what I mean? And I think it happens very often. You know what I mean? That situation between a father and his son, especially when the father wasn't there in his life. You know what I mean? I've had conversations with my father that were just like that. My younger brother has had conversations with our father that sounded just like that. And I understand. You know what I mean? I do. I understand it from both standpoints. I understand it from, his son's point of view, because I had a similar situation with my father, or, you know, whatever the perception is of the relationship that he had with his father. I had something similar to that. You know what I mean? My father had a whole nother family, you know, had a wife, you know, had other kids, and they loved him. You know what I mean? My sister loves my father. He was there for her every day. You know what I mean? Bought her things, took her places. She grew up with him. So our situation, our view of our father is completely different. You know, for a long time, I couldn't stand him. You know what I mean? She loves him with all her heart. You know what I mean? And a lot of that affected my relationship that I had with my sister, because I'm like, yo, I'm trying to be honest with her and tell her like, yo, this dude is trash. And she don't understand that, because he wasn't trash to her. He raised her. He was there. You know, when she graduated high school, he was there. When prom, he was there. You know, she grew up with him. So she doesn't really have a bad thing to say about him. And it affected my relationship with my half sister. But I mean, we're kind of good now. We do our thing. But yeah, even to this day, it's not where it could be or where it should be. But forgive him, man. I'm telling you, forgive him. And what Kirk's son should have did really was understand, look, I get it. You know, from where he sits, his dad made a lot of mistakes. His dad didn't raise him. His dad wasn't there for him, you know, treated him like a stepchild, you know, treated him like he was an outcast, whatever. You know, he might have threw some bread at him or did some things for him. But regardless of all of that, his son feels like this dude ain't really my dad. He don't really look for me or check for me like my father. And it goes to show you too that for a lot of men, this stuff don't go away. Kirk's son is in his 30s and he's still beefing with his father. I got homies, I got family members who have their own families, who are in their 30s, 40s, and they still have unresolved issues in their life because they don't have a great relationship with their father. And even some of us who go out and say, you know what, I don't care, I'm gonna move on, I'm not really tripping off that, I'm gonna do what I gotta do. You know what I mean? You're really just bottling that energy up, and then you kind of lashing out in other areas of your life, and you don't even know why. But if you went to some counseling, or if you sat down and really thought about it, you know what I mean? When you peel those layers back, like I said, you'll realize that a lot of that is just a situation. It's your father. You know, y'all never had a conversation. You never had a chance to tell him the truth. You know what I mean? He never told you he was sorry. He never tried to make it right. You know what I'm saying? I forgave my father for a few reasons. The main reason why I forgave my father was because when I got older and I became a man, I realized that I wasn't perfect. I realized that I made a lot of mistakes too. You know what I mean? I realized that it was, you know, I was moving a certain way, and it was only, you know, by the grace of the Most High and the ancestors that, you know, I didn't have a whole bunch of babies around here, because that's how I was moving when I was young. You know what I mean? Me, my team, my homies, you know, we were doing our thing. You know, we were collecting bodies out here. So, you know, and some of them slipped up, you know, had babies when they were young and tried to, you know, figure out how to be a father. You know, but fortunately for me, that didn't happen to me. You know what I mean? I didn't have my kids until I got married to my wife, and we waited 5 years, and then we started having these babies. But I forgave my father because when I got older, I realized that, you know what I mean, that I wasn't perfect, that I made mistakes. You know what I mean? That I didn't do everything right. That sometimes some of the things that happened to me was because of my own doing. And so when I humbled myself and said, you know what, I don't have it all together. So I really can't expect anybody else to have it all together either. You know what I mean? I can expect them to play a certain role for me if that's what they're supposed to do, because I didn't ask to be here. But when you get older and you know, you get some knowledge and wisdom and understanding up in you, you realize that you're not perfect and no one around you is perfect. So that was one of the reasons why, again, you know what I mean, I reached out to him. And when I reached out to him, you know, it was the same thing. It was, he was kind of copping the same pleas, you know, having the same excuses. You know what I mean? See the missus in here. So yeah, he was still copping the same pleas, but I don't know what it was, but for my father, things changed when I became a father. You know what I mean? When I became a father, he really started reaching out more. And I'm not really sure why. I guess he felt like, or maybe he felt like, you know what? I wasn't the greatest, I wasn't the greatest father to Frank, but I have grandkids now, and I want to be a better grandfather than I was a father to him. And so he started reaching out more. He started calling, actually drove up here from North Carolina a few times, you know what I mean? And, and I appreciated it, you know what I mean? And I respected it. And another reason why I forgave him was because I wanted my kids to have grandparents. I wanted them to have, a grandfather in their life who loved them and wanted to be a part. Excuse me. Because that was the crazy thing about it. When I was growing up, I didn't really have, like, there was a whole side of my family that I didn't even know. Like a half of me, I didn't even know. I only really knew and hung out with the people on my mother's side. You know what I mean? But on my father's side, I didn't know anybody. I knew maybe one cousin, and we never really hung out. We never really chopped it up that much. So I had all these people on the other side of my family that I didn't know. You know what I mean? I could have been out on the street beefing with somebody that was my cousin. I could have literally dated somebody that was my cousin, and I would have never known it because I didn't really know my father's side of the family like that. And so when I became a father, I didn't want to deny my children that. So I said, look, if he wants to be a grandfather to them, I'm gonna let him. You know what I mean? Some people didn't like that. Some people in my family didn't like it. They didn't think it was fair, to give him the opportunity to be in their lives like that. But I was really thinking outside of myself. And I said, you know what? I want them to know who their grandparents are. I want them to know and get that love that I didn't get, because it's important. I think I turned out all right. But if I turned out this well, going through all of that dysfunction, I can only imagine, what things I would have done, if my foundation would have been a little bit better. You know what I mean? It's all good though. It happened the way it happened. But I'm not going to deny my children love if my father's willing to give it to them something that he didn't give to me. I'm not going to deny them that. I don't think that's fair to my children. I want them to know their grandfather. I didn't really know mine on my father's side. My mother's side, I didn't really, it wasn't really as close as it could have been. But I'm big on family. And I think as a culture in our community, we have to be big on family again. You know what I mean? That's why I'm doing a show related to family next week, and I'm gonna drop that jewel later on, like when I close. But yeah, man. So I get it. I understand Kirk's son. I understand that, as a man, a lot of times for a lot of us, it never goes away. The issues that we have with our father, the pain that comes from that. A lot of us never get over it. You know what I mean? Even though people tell us we're supposed to, and, it ain't really that big of a deal because most of us didn't have our father. So suck it up. Everybody can't suck it up. Everybody's not built the same. You know what I mean? There are people that, there are people that will commit suicide over situations that we go through every day, over situations that I went through every day as a child. You know what I mean? When I was in the military going through basic training, there were guys in my company in basic training that were trying to commit suicide because they couldn't take the pressure of being in the army and basic training. Have people yell in your face all day, have people physically and emotionally pushing you to the brink every single day. A lot of people couldn't handle that. They were trying to commit suicide. They were taking pills. They were, stabbing themselves in the eye with pencils. All that crazy stuff, trying to get out because they couldn't take it. And when I went in the army and I heard drill sergeants yelling at me, I thought they were my father. I thought they were in my family because that's what I was used to. I was used to the yelling. I was used to the arguing and the fighting and people being in your face. I was used to that from my family, from the neighborhood, how I was moving, some of the cats at school, that I was beefing with. It was a common occurrence to get yelled at and to yell at somebody else and to get pushed emotionally to the brink. Understanding why people doing this and not being able to explain it to yourself. Like that was a common occurrence for me. So when I got in the military, it was nothing. That was the least of my words getting yelled at. I felt comfortable. You know what I mean? If I'm being honest, because of that. That was one of the things that settled me in, was getting yelled at. You know what I'm saying? But everybody's not built the same. And some of the cats who was trying to get out, who was crying and they bunk every night, were older than me. They just weren't built for it. And everybody's not built for it. Everybody is not designed to go through everything the same way. So there's some of us who say, look, at 16, you're like, look, my father ain't here. Forget it. He's trash. I don't need him. I don't ever want to talk to him. I'm good. At 16, they decided that and they moved like that, and they've been on that path ever since. And there's some of us who are 36 years old, 46 years old, who still ain't got over the fact that their father wasn't there, who still haven't got over the fact that their father wasn't there to teach them how to fight or teach them how to change a tire or just teach them anything, or just sit down and have a conversation with them about girls or nothing. They're grown men out here who still struggle with the fact that their father wasn't there. And a lot of y'all, ladies get into relationships with these guys and you don't really understand where that frustration is coming from. You don't understand why he moves the way he moves and says the things that he says and acts the way that he acts. A lot of that's because he has a void, that his father was supposed to fill, and it was never filled. You know what I mean? It's just straight like that. So all these things that spiral out of control in his life, the being in the streets, the hustling, the going to jail, all of that, a lot of that stuff is him rebelling because of that. You know what I mean? So I forgave my father because I wanted to free myself up emotionally for him to be able to come in and be the grandfather to his grandkids and to love them and be there for them the way that he wasn't there for me. So I had to sacrifice myself and our relationship, in a sense, to give him the opportunity to be able to do that. You know what I mean? So if I could talk to Kirk Franklin's son, I would tell him to forgive his father. You know what I mean? According to, I don't know those people personally, none of us do, but according to, what's come out, they kind of had a strange relationship. He wasn't really there for him. I think Kirk had him young. So, Kirk was trying to, find his way and all that, you know what I mean? And his son paid the price. And so his son has a lot of pent up anger and resentment for his father. And he's used that as an excuse to kind of go out here and make a lot of bad decisions and then throw it in his father's face like that was your fault. But I will tell you this, though, fellas. You can't blame your father forever. You can't blame him forever. You know what I mean? I didn't like what happened to me. I didn't. But when I got to a certain age, I said, you know what? I'm going to change the narrative. I'm going to change it. I'm going to be whatever my father wasn't, whatever I wanted him to be that he didn't really show me. I'm going to be that to my kids. I'm going to be that. I'm going to change the narrative. I'm going to change the game. You know what I mean? And that's how you do it. That's how you win. You don't win by beefing with your father, throwing his mistakes in his face all the time. I'm telling you, because a lot of y'all who do that, a lot of y'all who won't forgive your father, a lot of y'all who throw dirt on his name, a lot of y'all who violate and disrespect him all the time. Some of y'all got kids and y'all ain't the greatest fathers either. You know what I mean? Let's just be perfectly honest. You weren't always great. You didn't always treat your baby mom right either. You know what I'm saying? So just be mindful of that too, because, the way you look at your father, a lot of us, if we're being honest, our kids could look at us the exact same way. And they could treat us the exact same way, because a lot of us who throw dirt on their names aren't really there for our kids as much as we could be either. We ain't really putting in as much work as we could be. You know what I'm saying? So be mindful of that, man. You know what I mean? Like life, life was, it evolves and it revolves, and the same energy that you have for other people, a lot of times, if you're not being careful, you could get that energy right back. You could get it right back. So you can't use your father as an excuse forever. You know what I mean? At a certain point in my life, I decided, when I left for the military, I decided that, I was a man at that point. So every decision that I made or didn't make, everything that I did or didn't do, it was on me at that point. I left and I never came back. Only time I came back home was to visit, was to pay my mom a visit, put some money in her pocket, take her somewhere, buy her something nice. You know what I mean? Because everything after that point was on me, regardless of what my mom didn't do or did do, regardless of what my father didn't do or did do. When I got a certain age, when I became a man, my happiness, my wholeness, my contentment was my responsibility, not theirs. Not theirs. So if I could talk to that brother, I would tell him, look, man, forgive him, man. Forgive Kirk, man. He wasn't perfect. You know what I mean? And he made a lot of mistakes. But we all do that. You have done that. So forgive him, man. I'm not saying forget. I'm not saying, give him a pass. But what I am saying is, forgive him because he's not perfect. Have a conversation with him and put it out there on the table. You know what I mean? You could do it in a respectful way. Because listen, whatever I do, good or bad, right or wrong, life is going to teach me a better lesson than anybody else can. Nobody's words can give me a better lesson than the experiences of my life. If I move in a certain way, life is going to show me whether that move is good or bad. The energy that I get, that I absorb after making that decision is going to show me whether or not I made the right choice or not. You know what I mean? And life is going to hit me harder than any word you could say. So if your dad is wrong, if Kurt was wrong, life is going to deal him a hand that's going to put him in a situation where he'll be able to acknowledge and understand that he was wrong. That ain't really your responsibility to do. Your responsibility is to live your life. That's it. Forgive your father. Give him the opportunity to have a conversation with you, to have a dialogue, and live your life to the best of your ability. That's it. That's it, man. You don't have to record his y'all conversations and try to out him. That's not going to work. A lot of times, I mean, obviously it hasn't, because when he did that, a lot of people rallied behind Kurt. Was like, yo, he did the right thing. Like, these kids are out of pocket, they out of line, they disrespectful. He deserved to get cussed out. So a lot of the energy that you was trying to get by outing him like that, it backfired on you. It came back and blew up in your face, because there are a lot of people out there who are really supporting Kirk and saying that he was right. Let me say this though too. As a father, I see the other side too. And I understand that, you can do the best that you can for your kids, and your kids will still disrespect you. They'll still violate you. They'll still overstep their bounds a little bit. You know what I mean? And that's obviously that's the case with Kirk, or that's how he feels, you know what I mean, about the situation with his son. But I would tell Kirk too, man, you got to understand, like, he's hurt, man. You know what I mean? And everybody's not built the same. Everybody's not forward tough. You know what I mean? And that's okay. It's okay to not be forward tough about everything. For every man out here, I don't care how gangster you are. I don't care how many bodies you got. I don't care what set you claim, what hood you throwing up. There's a conversation, there's a word, there's a certain type of atmosphere and energy that if you tap into it, you're going to get emotional. You're going to get vulnerable. I don't care how much gangster you are. I seen the most gangsterish, if that's a word, people in the world cry. I seen Mike Tyson cry. Mike Tyson bit a man's ear off in front of 20,000 people. And I seen him talk about, Muhammad Ali or Custom Auto or some of his experiences growing up as a man without his father around, and some of the issues that he dealt with growing up in Brooklyn. And he's cried over it. And he's Mike Tyson. He's the most, for years, he was the baddest, most feared man on earth. People still scared of Mike. Y'all saw what Mike did to Roy Jones in that fight. You know what I'm saying? Mike, 50 years old, will still punish 90% of the people out here. And that man cries, man. You know what I'm saying? So it don't make you soft to be vulnerable about certain things. And it don't make you soft to not be forward tough all the time. Sometimes you're going to get weak, man. You're going to have a weak moment. Somebody going to push you to the brink. You know what I mean? And you're going to lash out. You know what I mean? You're going to put your real feelings on the table, and that's okay, man. That's human. You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, Kirk has to understand that his son, he has a lot of pent up hurt and pain inside of him. And you got to take the high road with your son. You know what I mean? You just do. I know, look, I have kids. My kids are 9 and 7. they go for it sometime. You know what I mean? They go for it. They push, you know what I mean, me and my wife to the brink sometimes. They do. You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, we still got to move a certain way because you got to understand that they're your kids. And I get that he's 30 something years old, but he's always going to be your son. Doesn't matter how old he is. He's always going to be your son. You know what I mean? So understand that about him too. And just and understand that, you know, all of this is just a cry for help. His son, at the end of the day, he's just crying for help. He don't really know how to express it in the right way. So he's making a lot of bad decisions. He's burning a lot of bridges with people, according to what his sister said. But at the end of the day, he's doing all of that. He's burning those bridges. He's causing all this drama and dysfunction between him and his father, or he's throwing gas on it because it's a cry for help. What he's really saying is, I want my father, and I want us to have a different relationship than what we've had. And I've always felt like an outcast. I've always felt like I was, you know, I always felt like I was a background singer. You know what I mean? That your other kids were David Ruffin, and I was just, you know, Otis. You know what I mean? That's how I always felt. If he's being honest, and you know, that's what he would say. So I hope they work that out. You know what I mean? I hope they're good. I hope they, you know, can bury that hatchet and move on, man, because you only get one life. And at the end of the day, on both sides of the spectrum, you only get one life. And if Kurt's son passes tomorrow, you know, if he's the man that he portrays himself to be, it will hurt him, because he would say, you know what? I wish I would have had a better relationship with my son. You know what I mean? And if Kurt died tomorrow, if he went to bed tonight and didn't wake up, regardless of how his son tried to play him, he would say, you know what? I wish I had a better relationship with my father. That's all I really was trying to do at the end of the day. That's what he would say. That's what I think he would say. At the end of the day, I was just trying to have a better relationship with my dad. I didn't go about it the right way. I did it the best way that I could to try to get his attention. And when I couldn't get his attention, I put it, you know, I try to make our situation public so that maybe the public could get his attention, so that I could get his attention that way. You know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, I think I feel like if something happened to Kurt, he would say, you know, I wish I had a better relationship with my father. Now, I'm not trying to do that. You know what I'm saying? But, you know, if it comes to that, if you need to do that, let them joints flow. You know what I mean? Because this is real. You know what I mean? I'm not the type of guy who's going to come out here and always talk about hard stuff, gangster stuff, street stuff. You know what I mean? I'm going to be real sometime. And even at 39 years old, I move the way I move, you know, because I still want a relationship with my dad. I still need him. That's how I feel. I want him around. I want him around my children. You know what I mean? I want to know about him. I want to know why, you know, there are things that I do that I don't know where it came from. You know what I mean? I don't know why I do it. You know, maybe that's what he did. Maybe some of the things that I like, he liked. One of the, you know, when I was growing up, I always played chess. Love chess. I even did a show on this YouTube channel about chess. You know what I mean? And about how much chess teaches you about life. I always played chess since I was a kid. First time I met my father, first time I went to go see him, I think I was less than 10 years old. I might have been probably less than 12 years old. And I went to see him. He was living in the hood. He was living in, I think I was at Southgate Projects at the time. I was living there. And my dad lived in Chavez Heights Projects, which is like, you know, maybe 5-10 minute drive from each other, because we were never that far apart. He just didn't pull up on me. So one time, you know, my mom was like, I'm going to take y'all over there to see your dad. So she took us over there to his projects. And the first thing we did, we had a conversation. And I remember to this day, we said he had a chessboard in his living room. And I was looking at it, and he was like, what you know about that? And I know a little something. I told him, I said, I know a little something about it. And he said, let's find out. So we played chess. You know what I mean? And I always had a love for chess. My dad did too. And that was like, and the first thing we bonded off of was playing chess. And when he came up here to visit me, later when he was, trying to be a good grandfather and trying to rekindle our relationship, to the best of his ability, when he came up here, we would play chess. And my sister and I would play chess. You know what I mean? Like the missus said, this is real though. Forgiveness is hard. It is hard. You know what I mean? I'm not going to make excuses for that. I'm not going to, shy away from that. Forgiveness is hard. You know what I mean? When somebody's done you wrong, when somebody's lied to you, when somebody, disrespected you and violated you and took something from you that, you might not ever be able to get back, it's hard to forgive them. But it's important. You know what I mean? I want to be forgiven. I'm going to do something one day that it's going to be crazy out of pocket. And I'm going to want my kids to forgive me. You know what I mean? I'm going to do something one day that my wife is going to look at me and say, Frank, what you doing? Like, why'd you do that? Why'd you say that? You know what I mean? And I'm going to want forgiveness. I'm going to want her to forgive me. I'm going to say, you know what? You're right. I was wrong. I shouldn't have moved like that. I shouldn't have said that. I didn't mean it like that. And I'm sorry. And I'm going to want her to forgive me. I'm going to want my children to forgive me. There are things that I've done, to my younger brother that I'm not proud of. And I wanted him to forgive me. And he did. And he didn't have to, you know what I mean? But he found it in his heart to forgive me. So if I want forgiveness for myself, you know what I mean? I have to be willing to give it to other people, especially if they're making the right moves and trying to be better than what they were. You know what I mean? I gotta forgive them. Like I said before, it does not mean forget. It does not mean give them a pass. It does not mean, everything that they did gets washed away like it never happened. But forgive them, because it's going to make you better. It's going to lighten that load up on you. You know what I mean? It's going to give you it's going to give you the opportunity to learn some things about your father and about yourself that you didn't know. And those things ultimately will help you to be a better man, to be a better husband and a better father for your children. And that's how I looked at it. You know what I mean? There was nothing, there was nothing in me that, there was nothing that he did or said that was deserving of my forgiveness. Because for a lot of time, to be honest, I can't even remember if he actually said he was sorry. Most of the times we had a conversation, it was, well, your mother did this, or your mother left me, or, just cop and please, just making excuses about things that are irrelevant. But I did it anyway, because that's what I needed to do for me, to get some of the burdens off of my back, to get some of that weight up off me so that I can be better. Because I didn't want to move, through life being angry all the time. I was angry. A lot of times I would get in fights. That's what it was, that was the reason. A lot of things that I did, I didn't have a father figure there to tell me, Frank, don't do that. Frank Jr., JR, that's me. I'm a junior. I'm Frank Jr. So everybody called me JR. JR, don't move like that. Don't do that. You know what I mean? Son, don't do that. Son, come over here, do this. Let me teach you that. Let me show you a better way. You know what I mean? I was denied that. And so for a lot of time, for a lot of my youth, I was angry all the time. Angry, getting in fights, fighting my brother. I was angry. I was mad. We play sports in the neighborhood. We was on our little rec team, our basketball team. We traveled all over the south side of Raleigh playing other teams, who were based in other gyms. Like we played out of Biltmore Hills gym, and we would go to other courts and other gyms and play other teams in our league. And some of the teams were in white neighborhoods. Some of the gyms were in white neighborhoods. So we played these white teams, and the whole family was there. It'd be like 5 or 10 people for one kid. Mother, father's there, sister, brother's there, grandma, grandfather there, cousins there, on the camera, on the recorder. You know what I mean? Cheering them. Son was complete trash. Like, we ain't let them score at all. But the whole family was there cheering them on. You know what I mean? It caused a lot of anger. It caused a lot of frustration. And if I let it get the best of me, I wouldn't be the type of cat I am right now. You know what I mean? But forgive your father, man. He's not perfect. He made a lot of mistakes. And sometimes, you know, he might not even admit it to you. He still might cop pleas. He still might make excuses. You know what I mean? It was your mother. You know what I mean? I told your mom this. I told your mom that. She wouldn't let me see you, whatever. You know? And sometimes, you know, and to be honest with you, you know, because of the world we live in, you might realize that your dad ain't really lying about that either. You know what I'm saying? But that's why you got to talk to him. That's why you got to forgive him and talk to him, because you never know. Sometimes you might talk to your dad and find out for real that your mom was keeping him away from you, that he was trying to get at you all the time, but she wouldn't let him. You know what I mean? And so you mad at the wrong person. You might be mad at him thinking, well, you know, my mom told me this. My mom told me you never wanted me. You never wanted to come see me. And your son, and you go talk to your father, and your father be like, nah, son, that's not real. I tried to see you. She wouldn't let me. I wrote you letters. You know what I mean? I tried to pull up on you. She wouldn't let me. She told me if I came around you, she'd get her brothers to jump on me. She'd throw me in jail or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Because sometimes it might be moms. You never know. That wasn't my situation, but it could be yours. You never know. A lot of times, man, look, no disrespect to the women, man, but a lot of times, man, you know, a lot of ladies, some ladies aren't being honest. They'll paint this picture like, yo, I gave your dad every chance possible to be a good father to you. He just didn't want to do it. And then you get older, you run up on your dad, and you know, you pop off on him, and then he sits you down calm and collected and have a conversation with you and say, look, that ain't true. You know, I didn't even know you were mine. You know what I'm saying? Like, your mom was dating me and another guy. And she told me that it, you know, I guess because she wanted the other dude, she told me that it was that you weren't even mine. So I didn't even know you were mine. Or I knew, but because she didn't want to mess up the situation with the other guy, she wouldn't let me around. Or, you know what? I mean, just talk to him. Even if he throw you some hot garbage, talk to him. At least you know the truth. And you can move on and get on with the rest of your life in a truthful way, and not based on something that might not even really be true. So, man, forgive your father. Have a conversation with him if you can. Put everything on the table. Speak your piece. Listen. Let him say what he has to say. And then you make a decision based on that. And if he's trying to be better, if he says, look, man, you know what, I did you wrong. You know, a lot of guys may feel like that when they get a little bit older, you know what I'm saying? You know, and they understand that their days are numbered. A lot of guys come around. You know what I mean? When you start getting in your 40s and 50s and you realize, look, man, you know, I don't know if I got another 40 or 50 in me. You know what I mean? You start counting them days. You start realizing that, you know, you ain't got forever. You ain't going to live forever. Stuff start hurting that it never hurt before. You know what I mean? You go to the doctor, you got to get prostate checks and colonoscopies now. You know what I mean? You realize you ain't got all the time in the world you think. So sometimes these guys will say, look, you know what? Before I get up out of here, man, let me make it right with my son. Let me call him and, you know, let me check on him. And ain't nothing I could give him that could, you know what I mean? And nothing I could give him that, because I see my man Boog in the building. Shout out to my man Boog. Had a blast at the self-improvement summit, man. Another gym. But yeah, man, a lot of times, man, when these cats get old, they start thinking like that. You know what I mean? 40s and 50s, man, stuff start hurting that never hurt before. And you start counting them days, you start realizing, man, like, you know what? I don't have a lot of time. You know what I mean? I don't have a lot of time. So let me make it right. Let me reach out to my son and try to talk to him, and hopefully he'll want to listen to me. Knowing that there's nothing that I could give him or say to him that could take away, you know, the pain that I caused him by not being around. But I just want to see a younger version of myself. You know what I mean? I want to live through him. I don't know how much longer I have, but living through him, living through my son and my grandchildren, will give me another, another shot at life. Will give me a second win. You know what I mean? Will bring some youthfulness up out of me. You know what I'm saying? I can learn some things. I just gotta be willing to own up to, that heat that my son gonna give me. But if I can get past that, man, we could do something special. We could have some type of relationship. You know what I mean? Just try it out, man. None of us are perfect. If you out here talking about you can't forgive your father and you're a horrible father yourself, you're a hypocrite. If you out here, you can't forgive your father for the mistakes that he made, but you mess up every day of the week and you want people to forgive you, you're a hypocrite. If you're out here doing the same things to your baby mom or to your wife that your father did to your mom, and you throw shade at him and you don't want to forgive him, you're a hypocrite. Ain't too many things worse than being a hypocrite, man. It's not too many things worse. So think about that, man. That note, man, I'm gonna say peace to y'all, man. Y'all been good for me, man. Y'all been good to me. Y'all are good for me and good to me, man. I appreciate y'all. I appreciate all the supporters of the channel. I can't do it without you. Y'all come through, y'all pull up, man. Y'all support. Fiscally, you support the channel. You send emails. I get a lot of opportunities to go speak at different places. I'm actually getting ready to start, mentoring, starting a mentoring service for the youngins, man, for the young brothers out here. I already had one sister reach out to me, to kind of see, what the rates are and what that's going to look like for me mentoring. But I'm going to start doing that too. You know what I mean? So if you got a young brother out there that you think, needs an older brother to talk to, somebody that's been where he's going, somebody that's been through some of the things that he's experiencing now, and you're not sure about him, you're not sure he's going to make the right decisions, you know what I mean? Let me know, man. Send me an email. You can schedule a consultation. I talk to you about the situation, then I'll talk to him. And then if it's something that everybody is mutually cool with, then we'll get it started, man. You know what I mean? If I can't give what's been given to me, man, I'm useless. So I'm gonna do that. But y'all be good, man. My next show next week, I got a sister coming on, dope sister that I met in these social media streets. We're gonna talk about co-parenting next week. You know what I mean? She's a co-parenting coach, she's a consultant, and she's an author. You know what I mean? And she focuses on co-parenting. So we're going to talk about co-parenting next week. I know there are a lot of brothers and sisters out here who have kids, who may not be married, all that good stuff. I understand that, it is what it is. You know what I mean? I'm not knocking that. You know what I mean? Things happen all the time. Sometimes these things happen out of our control. I tell people all the time, I can only control myself. I could wake up tomorrow morning and my wife could say, you know what, this ain't for me. You know what I mean? I don't want to do this no more. Now I'm a single dad. You know what I'm saying? So I don't look down on nobody. But at the end of the day, next week we're going to talk about co-parenting. We're going to talk about some do's and some don'ts. We're going to talk about effective ways to co-parent. You know what I mean? So you and your baby mom could be on the same page, man, for the sake of these kids. You know what I mean? So you and your baby father could be on the same page for the sake of these kids, man. Because if y'all are on the same page, if y'all know how to successfully co-parent with character, you know what I mean? That's only going to benefit you, because it's going to relieve you. It's going to relieve some stress, and it's going to definitely help your kids. You know what I mean? There's nothing that a kid needs more than to see his mom and his dad function together, complement each other, respect one another, whether they're married, engaged, or not. That's one of the most valuable things that you can give to a kid. So we're going to talk about that next week, man. So on that note, thank y'all again. Please like, comment, subscribe, and share if you like the content. You know what I mean? You can support the channel. Fiscally, if you want, you could do that. I am monetized. So you could do it via super chat, on YouTube, or you could do it via Cash App or PayPal. So if you want to do it Cash App, you just go to Cash App, $View from the Man Cave, and you can contribute there, or you could do it on PayPal, paypal.me/View from the Man Cave. So if you have any questions, any comments, if you want a consultation, if you want to talk to me about something, if you're interested in the mentoring program that I have popping off, and if you have somebody, a young brother that you think could really benefit from it, you can email me about that. We'll chop it up about it. We'll schedule a consultation where I just sit down via Zoom. We talk about it. I bring the young brother on. We schedule a date where we could talk via Zoom just to kind of pick his brain, see where his mind is at, see if this is something that he's interested in. And then if everybody's on the same page, like I said, we'll go ahead and lock it in and do it, and do the mentoring sessions weekly or bi-weekly or monthly, in 30-minute slots or 1 hour slots. We'll schedule that. All right. So on that note, man, I'm going to say peace. Y'all be safe. We are still in a pandemic, so put your mask on. Stay 6 feet away from me and my people. You know what I mean? And y'all will be in good shape, man. Y'all be good. One.
The powers of alchemy. alchemy